Hey everyone, it's Sarah with GGB Cards and More. Thanks for stopping by. I'm so glad you decided to see what I was up to today. Today I'm bringing you 5 different projects making pumpkins. These cute pumpkins are going to be perfect to add to your fall decor, so stick around and see what I come up with. First, we're going to take one of these pumpkins that I purchased at the Dollar Tree. They're just the foam ones, and I'm going to take out that stem. Next, I'm going to add some of this nautical rope, and I'm going to hot glue that all the way around the pumpkin. I'm going to start at the very bottom of the pumpkin, and I'm just going to add some hot glue there and add the very end of the nautical rope. I just left that tape on there because it was secured that nautical rope really nicely, and since it's the bottom of the pumpkin, I wasn't worried about it showing. So I'm just going to wrap that rope around itself in like a circle, and I'm going to keep adding hot glue as I go. Because this pumpkin is kind of slick and the nautical rope is kind of slick, it would shift a little bit, and I didn't want it to shift and show the orange color, so I added quite a bit of hot glue like with each round or each turn of the rope. I'm just adding hot glue. So my 3 girls started school this week, and it went really well. We are doing the distance learning, so we're at home all the time, and we can't get internet or satellite, so we're using our phone hotspots, and it's actually working out decently. I was surprised. Kind of thought we would maybe have to sit in front of the school to get Wi-Fi, but so far it's working out. So fingers crossed that it kind of keeps working out for us. How are things going if you've got kids in school? How is their distance learning or their school going? So when I get to the end, I don't have quite enough rope to finish off this pumpkin, so I'm just going to add another little bit to finish it off. So I just cut that end off where the tape was, and then hot glued it down, and then started a new one. And I'm just going to continue to wrap and glue till I get to the top. So next I'm taking the regular twine that you can purchase at Walmart, or no, not Walmart, at the Dollar Tree. You can get twine at Walmart too, but this one I just purchased it to the Dollar Tree. And I'm just going to glue one end to the very top, and then I'm going to wrap it all the way around. Cut that twine and add some more hot glue. Then I'm going to go immediately in between those two, add some more hot glue and twine, wrap it all the way around, and bring it back up to the other side. So now we have 4 segments. And then I will add one more segment to this pumpkin. I didn't want to do too many because I didn't want it to be too busy, so I decided that 6 segments was a perfect number. So using my scissors to hold down that hot glue so I don't burn myself. But I do have one of those silicone finger protectors there. They don't fit my finger very well, so I don't usually put them on because it kind of cuts the flow of blood to my finger. They're kind of small. So next I'm going to take these stumps. They're wood stumps that I picked up at Dollar Tree a while back. I don't know that any of the Dollar Trees are actually still carrying these. They may not be, but you could use go out into your yard and grab a stick. If you have one, sticks around your yard, you could grab those. You could use some of the tumbling tower pieces. You could make a little stem out of those. You could add the stem that you took off back onto the pumpkin. That would work too. You could even paint it if you wanted it to be a different color. So there's some options. Just get creative and think outside the box and see what you can come up with. Here I'm just adding a bow. I'm using the sheer orange ribbon that I picked up at Dollar Tree. And I'm just fiddling around with it to get the right look that I want. And here's a look at it. And here it is all completed and with some decor. I really love how simple and cute that pumpkin is. Next, we're going to take these two white pumpkins. These are also the foam pumpkins that you can get at Dollar Tree. And here I'm showing you some accents that I'm going to add to my pumpkins. These are buttons that I crocheted around. I've been crocheting for a long time, and so I found this pattern online. I'll link the pattern down below in case you want to also create these little flowers. But if you can't crochet or don't want to crochet these little button flowers, here's an option for you. Take a fork and then take some crochet thread. This is just a thin thread, it's like a #1. Or you could take embroidery floss as well. And you're just gonna wrap that around the fork, probably like 6 or 7 times. You can really make your flowers as thick as you want. I personally wouldn't go any more than like 6 or 7 times, just because with you stack them up with each other, and so you don't want them to be too bulky. So next I'm just cutting off a piece of thread, and I'm going to thread it through the middle prongs of the fork, and I'm just going to tie that off. So here's my tip for you. Make sure that that piece that you're tying off in the middle is nice and long, because mine wasn't long enough and I really struggled to get it tied properly. So with the second one I made that middle string longer, and it was much easier. So just make sure you use a good amount. And I just tie it off into a knot. Clip those ends. And then just slide it right off the fork. Easy as that. And then just fan out those ends. And you'll need 2 of them. So I made a second one off camera. And then I'm just fanning them out. And I'm going to add some hot glue in the middle of one here. Just a little hot glue right there. Stack them up in an X shape. And then once that hot glue is dried, you can fan out those ends a little more to make it more round and flower-like. I think these are really cute and a great alternative to the crocheted flowers for sure. So if you'd like to add something in the middle, you can add little buttons. I've got a couple of little wood buttons that are in my stash that I could add to the middle. And I'm going to add one of those wood buttons, but you could add beads, you could add rhinestones or pearls, or leave it blank, or there's lots of options. They're super cute. Next, we're going to paint our pumpkins. I'm using the Folk Art chalk paint. I purchased these at Michael's, and I'm using the color Sage and Nantucket Blue. I am really enjoying these colors for my fall decor this year. I'm just going to take out that stem on the pumpkin and paint one coat on to each of these pumpkins, one being the sage color and the other being the blue color. Now I took the top off, but in a minute you'll see that I put it back in because it's just much easier to hang on to and paint. So with this one I kind of pull it out a little bit so I can get to the very top, but I keep that stem on there so that I can paint it easier. little less messy that way. And again, I'm only adding 1 coat of paint. I did want that white to kind of show through. Makes it a little more rustic looking in my opinion. So I'm taking this cotton twine that I picked up in the automotive section, I think, at Dollar Tree. I know it's a Dollar Tree, but I think it was like in the automotive section. And I'm just gonna wrap that around using the natural segments of the pumpkins. You could cut the twine at the top and the bottom and glue it at the top and the bottom. I just chose to wrap one long string around and use hot glue to secure it. And it worked out really well that way. Just whatever you prefer to do. Probably a little more clean if you cut and glue at the top and the bottom, but for me this worked. Now I'm just securing the bottom there with some hot glue so that those twine pieces don't move around. Next I'm going to take that same folk art chalk paint in the color Castle, and I'm just going to add a light coat of paint on these stems so they're not that green color, but the green does show through a little bit, so it makes it a little more natural looking. Next I'm going to add the flowers. I'm just gluing 1 flower on, and then I'm going to skip a segment and glue another flower. Now these flowers I had done in a couple different sizes, so I just made a pattern with them and glued them around, kind of in the middle of the pumpkin. And then I'm going to do the same with the blue one. Adding a flower, skipping a segment, adding a flower. And then I'm just going to push those stems back into the top of the pumpkins. I didn't have any kind of an issue with this. I just kind of picked a spot where the twine was separated a little bit and then just pushed it right in, and they went right in for me, and it wasn't a problem. I didn't hot glue them or anything into the pumpkin, I just pushed them in. So next I'm going to take that same cotton twine and I'm going to create a triple bow. So I'm just using 3 strands of that cotton twine, and I'm just going to make a cute bow with it to add to the top of these pumpkins. Now I strategically placed this bow onto this pumpkin at the top here because there was a little section of the twine that I didn't quite get right. So I just put the bow there, covered it up, we moved on. It's perfect. And then I'm going to make another one for the blue one. Just a simple bow. Again, on the blue pumpkin, I see a spot that I don't really care for. So I actually even just turn the stem around, just twist it, and then I can add that bow onto the spot that I don't really care for. And voila, it's fixed. So here's a look at the pumpkins completed. I think these are so cute and a little bit boho. So they're perfect for a couple different kinds of decor. So next I'm going to take one of these mini crates. I picked this up at the Dollar Tree. And I'm just hand lettering out what I want to put on here. Sorry, this is a little out of frame. I have a new phone and the camera is a little different on it than my old one. So next I'm going to take my wood burning tool and I'm just going to burn those letters right into that wood. I picked up this wood burning tool, I think, at Michael's, probably with a coupon, and I've really enjoyed being able to use it from time to time in different projects. It's a fun way to add some rustic flavor, so to speak, to some of your projects. I've seen some people do some beautiful woodworking work. My dad probably, no, I know my dad is one of those people. He can do amazing things with stuff like this. So I'm just burning in these letters though, nothing fancy. I do take a piece of scrap wood before I start a project like this, just to get a feel for it before I start. So if you don't want to use a wood burning tool though, you could put this on with a marker. Just if you're going to paint or use a wood wash, I would probably do that wood wash first and then use the marker, unless you're sure that it's not a water soluble marker. Or you could add stickers or vinyl or paint, like hand letter with some paint. So there's other options besides wood burning. And I think there's even like a pen that you can buy that you can write and then heat it with like a heat tool and it'll burn it too. I've seen those. I've never tried them before, but they seem interesting to me. So here I'm just using a medium craft stick, and I'm just going to add some decoration to the front of this little crate. So I'm just placing that on the top of the crate and eyeballing the line. I'm kind of an eyeball crafter, like I don't measure out stuff, I just kind of eyeball it and keep my fingers crossed really. But you can measure it if you want. So I decided it needed a little more bling to the front. So I'm taking some of these tacks. They're just like regular tacks, wall tacks. And I am just going to paint them with some of the folk art castle color. Just a little light coat of paint, not worried about full coverage. And then I'm going to just hot glue those little pieces down, because my idea is to just put the tacks right into the wood there and it'll be more secure. Well, that wasn't super easy to do. So I did get this first one pushed in with my finger, but it was difficult for sure. And then I realized that the tack came through the wood. So there's a sharp end poking through. So I cut them off. I cut that one off with my wire nippers there. And then after that, so I'm kind of a backwards crafter. Sometimes I think of things, I'm like, oh, I need to do that. And then I'm like, oh, wait a sec, I should do that first. So I thought to myself that I should probably get this paint wash on before I finish up the rest of the tacks. So I'm just using some apple barrel paint, the color Burnt Umber. I like that color a lot. It's kind of a cool brown color. And I just mix it with water to create like a wash. So it's just a light color, makes it look a little rustic and kind of gives it that like minwax look. What is that? I can't even think right now. You know what I'm talking about. So I'm just going to sand the front of those a little tiny bit so that the letters kind of show through a little more. So here I am sticking the tacks in, decide I better get out the hammer, and then I'm going to try and figure out how I'm going to hold the tack and hammer, and then I struggle. So basically I just kind of push the tack in and then hammer it down. I'm adding back some of that castle color and doing a little distressing. So my solution for the tacks showing through is just to add a little hot glue over the top of them so they're not sharp. And I think it'll work great. They're covered, and then if I put fabric or whatever in there, it won't snag on them. So it was just a little hard to cut those off with those wire nippers that I have. If I had, I'm sure my husband probably has some heavier duty ones in the shop, but I didn't have them up here. So here is a look at the final product. I love how this came out. I just added some burlap ribbon from the Dollar Tree. Those little pumpkins are from the Dollar Tree, and then the boxwood is from Walmart. So super cute. So the next project is made, I'm just using some scrap wood. I'm not even sure what size of wood this is. I will measure it out, and I will leave those measurements in the description box if you're curious. But like this bigger piece that I'm painting right here was actually part of my girl's old bunk bed. We cut it down, and I just have been using that scrap wood for years now. And then when I go to the the hardware store to get wood, I don't really look for sizes. I just look for things that I like. So if I like a certain size, then I'll buy it. Unless I'm like looking for something for a specific project, but for the most part, I just buy what I like. So we're just gonna put a coat of paint on the front, 2 sides, and 1 end. Now you could do both ends if you wanted to. I chose not to do that just because that bottom end will be on a tabletop and it won't be showing. So I wasn't concerned about that bottom piece. And it made it a little bit easier to paint. So I'm using the sage color, the Nantucket Blue. And then for the third color, I'm taking some of the apple barrel spiced carrot and mixing a little of that castle color with it to warm it up, and then to add that little bit of chalk paint into it so it looks more cohesive with the other paints. And again, just adding paint. So this is adding the second layer, the second coat of paint. Basically, I just added some to the very outside of the second and third biggest pieces, and then painted the sides and the top. And then this one, you'll see me paint the back side of this. On the other two, I didn't paint the back sides just because the front was already fine, but I didn't like the front of this one, so I just painted the back side so that would be the front. And then just added a second coat of paint to the sides and the top, and then later on I'll go back and add that second coat to the front of it. But this one I'm just adding to the sides, because that middle portion will be covered with the other piece of wood and you won't even see it. I did decide to paint the back sides of these because they are going to be sitting on a table where the backs will be seen. So I just added 1 coat of paint to the backs of these because this chalk paint is pretty good. It's got pretty nice coverage, and it really didn't need 2 coats of paint. So I'm going to add some wood glue. Now you could add just wood glue if you wanted to, and then place something heavy on it or place a clamp on it and let it dry. For my crafting purposes, I add some wood glue, and then I'm going to add some hot glue. That way I can continue working with them instead of having to let it sit and for the wood glue to sit and dry properly. So this gives me an immediate hold, and then that wood glue adds for, like, once it's dry, it'll be a permanent hold. So I'm going to add that middle piece onto the bigger piece, and then I'm going to stack the small piece onto the middle piece. So from the side it looks like a pyramid. And then just make sure, if you don't paint both ends, that you match up your unpainted ends. I almost did not, and I would have just had to go back and paint the top, but that's an extra step that I didn't really want to do, so I just made sure that I got them down properly the first time. So I'm going to add one of these stems. Again, you could go out and get a stick, but there are other options. I know the Dollar Tree also carries those little square wood pieces, and you could definitely stack a couple of those on top and it would look really cute. You could paint them up with some brown or green, and then that would be a really cute alternative to the wood stump too. So here's a look at it at this point, and then I'm just going to do the same process to all 3 of these little pumpkins. I know a lot of Dollar Trees are not carrying those wood stems, and I know a lot of people are using them, so hopefully they'll bring them back because they're really cool. I like having them in my stash, but I'm almost out, so I'm gonna have to go in my yard, pick sticks from here on out. So I decided to cut some vinyl. I have 3 girls, so I wanted to add their initial on each of these pumpkins. So I just used a font off of my Cricut, and I will put that font in the bottom because I can't think of what it is called at this point. So I will add the font name at the bottom or in the description box so you can see what it is in case you want to use that same font. So I have an R, an S, and a J. I have 3 girls, Rosalie, Sophia, and Juliet. And they're my 3 little pumpkins. So here I'm showing you what I use for transfer tape. It is just the Duck brand contact paper that I purchased from Walmart. I think it was like a big roll for like $5 or $6. It lasts forever and it works so good. I have never had any issues with transferring my vinyl. And here you'll see I use the same piece actually for all 3 of these transfers. I think it's a really good, cheaper alternative to transfer tapes. So I am going to say here, again, backwards crafting, this is what I do, but I would distress first before adding the vinyl in the future, because I had to be careful, especially with the R. It was a little close to the edge and I had a hard time kind of distressing that top portion, but I'm just using a sanding block and then sanding off some of that color so that the natural wood shows through. And then I'm just taking a box knife and cleaning up the edges where some hot glue came out and then sanding it down. So I was trying to decide if I wanted to add little sunflowers that I've got from the Dollar Tree onto the tops of these stems, or onto the top of these pumpkins, I should say, or if I wanted to add a bow. So you'll see here in a second that I do end up going with a bow. I liked that a little bit better. And I just fiddle around with my ribbon until I get what I like. And that ribbon is, again, that sheer, it's just a sheer ribbon that you can get at Dollar Tree. And it's this really beautiful orange color. And it looks so good with that spiced carrot color. I didn't buy it for that purpose, but it works really good. So I'm just gonna make a bow for each one of these. And you'll see that I purposely make one side longer than the other for some asymmetry. I like things to be symmetrical, but sometimes I like to add a little bit of asymmetry as well, just for some visual appeal. I think it looks nice and unexpected sometimes. And I am fishtailing the ends of the bows. And here I actually do cut it the wrong way and then have to recut it, but that's okay. So here's a look at all three of them together. I really, really like how these came out. I will have these probably forever. I love them so much, and I just love the colors and everything. I couldn't be more happy with the way that these turned out. So this was kind of a bonus project. I didn't really intend for this originally, but it worked out. So these were pieces that I cut off of longer pieces of wood from the 3 pumpkins that I made before. They were just the little bits that were cut off from the end. So I decided that I would stack them with the same size and make little pumpkins that I could put on my tier tray. So I used a bit from the middle piece that I used from the last pumpkins and the very top piece that I used from the last pumpkins. And I just glued them together, and I painted them with that spiced carrot. I didn't use any chalk paint in it with it. It's just the spiced carrot. So I went into Design Space on my Cricut and I found a cute little saying, and I cut that out. But you could use stickers to add some words or some decoration to the front of your little pumpkins here, or you could hand paint something. You could probably go on to Etsy and find little vinyl decals that someone is selling you could add to your pumpkins. So here I'm just weeding. This is just taking off the extra vinyl that isn't needed for the project. So I just take out the big part so that just the words are remaining. And then I have to go back in with my little tool and take out all the middle bits too. It's pretty easy, goes pretty quick. And here they are ready to be transferred using some of that contact paper from Duck. I'm just putting it on there, burnishing it down with my little scraper. And then I'm going to add some of those little stems, wood pieces. And for these ones I decided that the little sunflowers would look super adorable. So I'm just hot gluing those on. And these were just a 6-pack that I picked up at the Dollar Tree. And here they are completed. I think that these are going to look so cute on my tier tray. I can't wait to put them on there and decorate for fall. Which I'm probably going to do this weekend because it is screaming my name to get decorating. So here's a look at all of the pumpkins together. I hope that you enjoyed these projects. Let me know in the description or in the comments down below which one you like the best. If you like this video, give it a big thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Hit that bell so that you get all the notifications and will know when I upload my next video. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Stay healthy and safe, and we'll see you next time. Bye!